A Chinese model has just taken first place in blind front-end coding tests, ahead of Claude Fable 5 and GPT-5.6 Sol. Kimi K3 is enormous, multimodal, built for long agent workflows, and much cheaper than both Western flagships. Some headlines say China has won the model race. Others call it benchmark hype. This investigation separates what K3 really wins, where it still loses, and what the launch changes for developers and businesses. Moonshot AI released Kimi K3 on the 16th of July, 2026. It has 2.8 trillion total parameters, native visual understanding, and a 1 million token context window. K3 uses a sparse mixture of experts, activating only 16 of 896 routed experts for each token. At launch it runs max reasoning by default and is available in Kimi, Kimi Work, Kimi Code, and the Kimi API. The architecture is more than a larger Kimi K2. Kimi Delta Attention is designed to scale attention efficiently across very long sequences. Attention residuals selectively retrieve representations across depth. Stable latent MOE increases sparsity, while quantization-aware training uses MXFP for weights and MXFP8 activations. Moonshot claims these changes improve scaling efficiency about 2.5 times. That claim is promising, but the full technical report is still pending. Moonshot calls K3 the first open 3 trillion class model. But dates matter. The company says full weights will arrive by the 27th of July. On our research cutoff, the 19th, K3 is accessible through products and an API, but the complete weights and detailed report are not yet public. So the accurate description is an open weight release in progress, not a model the community can already download, audit, and reproduce. For the broadest apples-to-apples comparison, artificial analysis scores Claude Fable 5 at 59.9, GPT-5.6 Sol at 58.9, and Kimi K3 at roughly 57.1. K3 is genuinely close, but it is not number one overall. Moonshot itself says K3 still trails Fable and Sol in total performance. The important news is how narrow the gap has become, not a false claim that one leaderboard proves universal superiority. K3's clearest victory is front-end creation. In Arena's blind human preference evaluation, Kimi K3 scored 1,679. Fable 5 scored 1,631, and GPT-5.6 Sol scored 1,618. Humans preferred K3's interfaces and visual output. That is highly relevant for web design and rapid prototyping, but it does not measure repository debugging, security, or long-term maintainability. The wider coding picture is mixed. GPT-5.6 Sol leads deep SWE, 73 to K3's 67.5, and narrowly leads Terminal Bench, 88.8 to 88.3. K3 wins Program Bench by 0.2 and leads SWE Marathon at 42. Fable 5 leads Frontier SWE and Moonshot's own Kimi Code Bench. K3 is frontier level, especially on long coding runs, but no model dominates every engineering test. Agent benchmarks are not simple exam scores. Moonshot used Kimi Code for some K3 tests, Codex for GPT, Claude Code or Terminus for Claude, and different reasoning budgets across evaluations. Fable sometimes fell back to Opus because of safety classifiers, while Sol sometimes entered a cyber guard. A better harness can improve planning, tools, and retries. Comparisons remain informative, but we should never present them as perfectly controlled laboratory results. On difficult professional work, Fable remains formidable. It leads GDP Val, AA Briefcase, and Job Bench in Moonshot's table. K3 narrowly wins Spreadsheet Bench 2, leads Automation Bench, and reaches 91.2 on Browse Comp under Moonshot's setup. OpenAI reports 92.2 for Sol in Ultra Multi-Agent mode, again showing configuration matters. K3 looks strongest when research, tools, files, and visual output must work together over many steps. Price may be K3's biggest commercial weapon. 1 million uncached input tokens cost $3, and output costs 15. GPT 5.6 Sol costs 5 and 30. Fable 5 costs 10 and 50. K3 therefore cuts Sol's output price in half and undercuts Fable by 70%. But token price is not the whole bill. More retries, longer reasoning, or extra human correction can erase the saving, so companies should measure cost per successful task. Even after weights arrive, K3 will not run on a gaming laptop. Moonshot recommends supernodes with at least 64 accelerators for efficient serving. Low-precision weights help, but a 2.8 trillion parameter model remains an infrastructure project. Open weights matter most to sovereign clouds, hyperscalers, large enterprises, and research groups. The strategic value is control and inspectability, not cheap local inference for everyone. Moonshot shows K3 building a small Triton-like compiler, designing and verifying a chip in a 48-hour run, reproducing an astrophysics pipeline, creating playable games, and editing a teaser from 56 clips. These demonstrations suggest serious multimodal autonomy. But they are vendor-selected case studies. Hidden retries, specialized tools, and selection can shape a demo. Treat them as evidence of possibility, not proof that every user gets the same result on demand. Anthropic and OpenAI publish extensive system cards and describe safeguards, monitoring, and access controls. Fable can fall back to Opus on sensitive work. Sol can trigger cyber protections. Moonshot's launch focuses on architecture and capability, while a full technical and safety report is still outstanding. That does not prove K3 is unsafe. It means companies have less public evidence today, and must independently assess privacy, data residency, retention, model updates, and legal exposure. Choose K3 for front-end design, high-volume agent work, low API prices, million-token projects, and future weight control. Choose GPT-5.6 Sol for efficient coding, mature tools, structured workflows, and a strong overall balance. Choose Fable 5 when the hardest long-running research, finance, vision, or engineering work justifies premium pricing. For many organizations, the best answer is routing, K3 for creation, Sol for tool-heavy execution, and Fable for the hardest review. Kimi K3 did not defeat every Western model. Fable 5 still leads broad independent intelligence. GPT-5.6 Sol remains exceptionally strong and efficient in coding. But K3 is within a few index points of both, wins meaningful categories, and charges dramatically less. If the promised weights and technical report arrive, Moonshot will have turned a close benchmark result into a strategic alternative that companies and governments can control. That is the bigger story. The model race is no longer a simple picture of China chasing the West. Leadership changes with the task, interface design, coding agents, research, speed, cost, or safety. Kimi K3 makes frontier intelligence cheaper, and the open weight future more credible. The next test is not the launch headline. It is independent use, released weights, transparent safety evidence, and whether K3 keeps its quality when millions of real users put it to work.